Hi, welcome to this series of videos on GMAT quantitative reasoning section. We'll be looking at some data sufficiency problems today. The questions in the quantitative reasoning section are mainly of two types. One is a problem solving, where there is one question and 5 choices, that is a basic format. And then you have the data sufficiency questions, where you have one question and 2 statements, and your job is to check if the information in the statements are enough to answer the question that is given. And you will have to select your answer choices depending on the sufficiency. So let's begin. So these are your options for data sufficiency questions, which are going to be standard for all of data sufficiency questions. Option A says statement 1 alone is sufficient, but statement 2 alone is not sufficient. That's when you mark your answer as option A. And say, option B is statement 2 alone is sufficient, but statement 1 alone is not sufficient. Option C says both statements together are sufficient, but neither statement alone is sufficient. Okay, so when the information given in 2 statements together is sufficient, but alone neither statement is giving the sufficient information, then you mark your answer as option C. Option D says each alone is sufficient. Each of the statements by themselves is sufficient to answer the question, and you have option D. Option E is when statements 1 and 2 together are also not sufficient. That is when you mark option E. So let's look at the first question here. F of x is a linear function. What is the value of f of 1? Okay, so what does the question say? That f of x is a linear function. So let's take f of x is equals to ax plus b. That's the standard form of a linear function. Statement 1, okay, statement 1 is giving us f of x minus 3 is equals to f of x plus 1. Let's substitute ax plus b in place of f of x. So you have ax minus 3 plus b is equals to ax plus b plus 1. So here you are left with ax minus 3a plus b is equals to ax plus b plus 1. Ax gets cancelled both sides, subtract ax. You are left with minus 3a and b gets cancelled as well. Minus 3a is equals to 1. So a is equals to minus 1 by 3. But you don't know anything about b. So this is not sufficient. Not sufficient to answer the question. Now let's see what statement 2 says. Statement 2 says f of 5 is equals to 2 times f of 3. So f of 5 will be 5a plus b, and f of 3 will be 3a plus b. So here we know that 6a plus b and 5a plus b. 6a plus 2b, sorry, when you multiply 2 inside the bracket. So you have taking a this side and b this side, you will be left with 5a minus 6a is minus a is equals to b, 2b minus b is b. So you have minus a minus b is equals to 0, or a plus b. Taking a on the other side will be more wiser. So a plus b is equals to 0. From here you can just see that f of x is ax plus b and f of 1 will become a plus b. And here we have deduced from the given information that a plus b is equals to 0. So you can definitely say that f of 1 is equals to 0. So this information is sufficient. So that means when statement 2 is sufficient but statement 1 alone is not sufficient, the answer is option B. You have to select option B. Let's move on to the next question now. If a, b, c, d and e are integers and c, d, e is equals to 0, is d equal to 0? Okay, it is given that c, d, e is equals to 0 and they are asking whether or not d is equal to 0. Okay, the first statement says a, b, c is equals to 30. So from this we know that neither of these three integers, that is a, b or c, they cannot be 0. So from that we can deduce that since c is not equal to 0, d into e must be 0. But here we still cannot deduce if d is equals to 0 or e is equals to 0. We cannot for sure say. So this information in the first statement is not sufficient to answer the question. Now looking at statement 2. ACE is equals to 0. So this means that either one of these things can be 0 or multiple elements can be 0. Either A, C or E, one of them is 0 or two of them are 0 or all of them are 0. So we know CE is definitely 0. Substituting that into this, you have C, D, E is equals to 0. You know C and to E is equals to 0 with the given information, but you can still not say whether or not D is 0 or D is not 0. You can still have both the possibilities. So this is also not sufficient. Now let's see statement 1 plus statement 2. What does it say? A, B, C is equals to 30. So A and C, A into C is not equal to A or C is not equal to 0. And it says ACE is equals to 0. Since A and C, A into C cannot be equal to 0, then we can surely say that E is equals to 0. Now again looking at the initial piece of information given, CDE is equals to 0. So we know that C is not equal to 0, E is equal to 0, and we can still not say whether or not D is equals to 0 or not. We cannot say it for sure, deduce that for sure. So this together also they are not sufficient. So that becomes, your answer becomes option E. E is when both of the statements together also cannot answer the question. Let's move to the next question now. Mod of n plus phi is equals to 5. What is the value of n? Okay. Mod of n plus 5 is equals to 5. When mod of A is equals to B, either A is equals to B or A is equals to minus B. So if mod of n plus 5 is equals to 5, either n plus 5 is equals to 5 or n plus 5 is equals to minus 5. When n plus 5 is equals to 5, n is equals to 0, or n is equals to minus 5, you take 5, this side becomes minus 5, minus 10. Either n is 0 or n is minus 10. They are asking if you can definitely find the value of n. So the first piece of information, the first statement says n square is not equal to 0. Okay, so this means that n is definitely not equal to 0. So here, since you are left with out of two options, one is being removed, you are definitely left with one answer, that is n is equals to minus 10. So yes, you can give the value of n can be found from the first statement. So it is sufficient. This information is sufficient. Let's look at the second statement. N square plus 10n is equals to 0, which means n into n plus 10, taking n common from both of these terms, is equals to 0, which means either n is, again n is 0 or n is minus 10. By equating each of these to 0, we get n is either 0 or minus 10. Therefore, it still is ambiguous between these two values. So, it is not sufficient to answer the question that is asked. Therefore, the answer is option A. Option A says statement 1 is sufficient, but statement 2 alone is not sufficient. So let's see what the next question is. X plus 3 into x minus 2 minus x minus 2 into x minus 2 is equals to y into x minus 2. What is the value of x? They are saying that x plus 3 into x minus 2 minus x minus 2 into x minus 2 is equals to y into x minus 2. Let's take this term also this side so that we can take x minus 2 common overall. So you have x plus 3 into x minus 2 minus x minus 2 into x minus 2 minus y into x minus 2 is equals to 0. By taking x minus 2 common from all these terms, you are left with x minus 2 into x plus 3 minus x plus 2 will become minus x plus 2 and minus y is equals to 0. X and minus x gets cancelled. So, x minus 2 into 5 minus y is equals to 0, which means either x is equals to 2 or that is y is equals to 5. So, the first piece of information is telling us that y square is 25. So, here that means that y can be either 5 or minus 5. So, here we cannot definitely say whether y is 5 or not. So, they are asking value of x. If y is 5, x can be anything, but if y is minus 5, x has to be 2. So, here you are not getting a sufficient information to answer the question, that is what is the value of y. The second piece of information says y is less than 1. So, y is less than 1, so definitely y is not equal to 5. So, when y is not equal to 5, that means that x is equals to 2. One of these two terms must be 0. Either of these two things have to be true. Therefore, we get x is equals to 2. So, it is sufficient to answer the question. Therefore, answer is option B. When statement 1 alone is not sufficient, but statement 2 alone is sufficient to answer the question. Now, let's move to the next question. What is the value of 2x plus y divided by x minus 2y? xy is not equals to 0. That means that either x neither y is equals to 0. So, 2x plus y divided by x minus 2y is equals to what? You are given that in first statement x by x plus y is equals to 2, which means x is equals to 2x plus 2y, which means that minus x is equals to 2y. By substituting this value into the expression given, you will have x minus x is 2y, so x is equals to minus 2y. So, 2x plus y is minus of 2 into minus 2y plus y divided by minus 2y, which is equals to minus 4y plus y divided by minus 4y, which is equals to minus 3y divided by 4y minus 4y. Y gets cancelled out, it is equals to 3 by 4. So, statement 1 alone is sufficient. You get this expression coming out to be 3 by 4. But when you look at the second statement, x minus 2y is equals to 4, which means that x is equals to 4 plus 2y. Substituting it into this expression of which we need to find the value, you have 2 into 4 plus 2y plus y divided by 4 plus 2y minus 2y, which is equals to 8 plus 4y plus y divided by 4, which is 8 plus 5y divided by 4. Here we don't know the value of y, so therefore we cannot answer this question. This is not sufficient information to answer what is the value of that expression. So, therefore, the answer is option A, when statement 1 alone is sufficient to answer the question. Let's look at this next question now. What is the ratio of x is to y is to z? Z is, statement 1 says z is equal to 1 and xy is equals to 32. You want the value of x is to y is to z. First statement says z is equals to 1, okay, and xy is equals to 32. this doesn't tell us what x is or what y is. X can be equal to 1 and y can be equal to 32, or x can be equal to 2 and y can be equal to 16. There are n number of combinations of values of x and y. Therefore, this is not sufficient information to answer the question. Now, second statement says that x by y is equals to 2 and z by y is equals to 1 by 4. X by y is equals to 2 means x is equals to 2y, and z by y is equals to 1/4 means z is equals to 1/4 of y. Therefore, x is to y is to z is equals to 2y is to y is to 1 by 4th of y. That is 2 is to 1 is to 1 by 4, which is 8 is to 4 is to 1. Therefore, yes, this information is sufficient to answer the question. So, answer is option B, where statement 1 alone cannot answer the question, but statement 2 alone is sufficient to answer this question, has data which is sufficient. Let's look at this next question now. If w plus z is equals to 28, what is the value of wz? W and z are positive integers. In statement 1, statement 2 says w and z are consecutive odd integers. So, y plus z is equals to 28. Statement 1 says y and z are positive integers. So, we can have w is equals to 1 and z is equals to 27, or w is equals to 2 and z is equals to 26. We can have many combinations. W equals to 3, z will be equal to 25. So, we cannot definitely say what is the value of wz. So, not sufficient. Whereas statement 2 says w and z are consecutive odd integers. So, if you say that w and z are consecutive odd integers, one will be z, they will have a difference of 2. So, z can be written as w plus 2. So, substituting this, you have w plus 2 is equals to 28. So, 2w plus 2 is equals to 28. 2w is equals to 26. So, w is equals to 13. W is 13, z will be w plus 2, that is 15. There is only one possible combination. So, that means that the product of wz is equals to 13 into 15. We do not need to calculate it. All we need to say is yes, it is the information given is sufficient. So, the answer comes out to be option B. Those were some sample questions on the topic of algebra for data sufficiency. Hope they were clear. Thanks for watching.